Welcome and hello. This is a video lesson using the HEC-RAS controller called Displaying a Timer and Progress Bar in the Status Bar. So what we may want to do sometimes when the HEC-RAS controller is running is see how long it's been running for and also see its current progress. So if you go to Excel, for instance, here is where I would have my HEC-RAS controller set up. Down here in the very bottom where it says ready and accessibility good to go, this is the status bar. We may want to display, like I mentioned, a timer and or progress bar to communicate to the user just how long the program's been running for and also what's the overall progress. So we're going to show how to do that in this lesson. So let's go back and check out our HEC-RAS model real quick. Nothing too fancy about the model. What we have here is a 1D steady flow simulation. I'm going to come up and run the model. Just going to click on compute, let that run. It'll just be a second. That is completed and close, and we have some results. This project is called project, so project.prj. For now, I'm just going to save it though and close it. Most of the work for this lesson is going to take place right here in Excel. So let's go ahead and click on developer, open up that ribbon, click on Visual Basic. And right here is the code that we're going to talk about. I'm in sheet 1. We have this subroutine called compute. Compute is the subroutine that's assigned to this button click. So there it is, compute and OK. So back to Visual Basic. To display text to the status bar, you're going to use this code right here, which is application.statusbar, and then whichever string you want. So this is right here is where I'm initializing it at the very beginning before we start looping through our different flow rates. The only thing we're going to start it off with is say elapsed time equals 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds. Then what we're going to be doing is looping through a number of different flow rates. So we're going to increase the flow used in our steady flow simulation, and then we're going to run the computation. And then at the bottom of each loop, we're again going to run the application status bar. Once again, this time the elapsed time is going to be displayed as well as the progress bar. There's no progress bar at the very beginning because at the very beginning, no iterations have been completed. And then at the very end, application status bar is going to be set to false. And doing so will just set the text there back to default. So Excel will display what it normally would display, not something that's specified here by the Visual Basic. We'll go ahead and take a look at this script with a little bit more detail. The first block of code is creating a HEC-RAS controller object and then opening up that project, which is project.prj. After that, we're going to create variables for the date time start and date time elapsed. Date time start is always going to be now. That'll be constant. And then date time elapsed will be calculated within each loop. Here it is. Date time elapsed is going to be the current now minus the now when the routine started. This DT elapsed is used and parsed out by second, minute, and hour. It's formatted so that there are two numeric characters. So even if it's only been 3 seconds, it'll display 00:00:03, just so the format is consistent. So that's how the date time elapsed is displayed, which is right down here. That's the first half of what we're doing in the status bar. Okay, let me scroll back up. We are setting the minimum flow rate, maximum flow rate, and the flow increment right here, just directly into the script. Of course, this could be written in through a user interface, like on a worksheet or a form, but I'm just going to manually change it here. So the first iteration will be 500 CFS. It'll increment 100 up to 600 CFS, 700, 800, all the way 900 to 1,000. I'm keeping an iterator of 0. I'm going to increase that with each loop. And then the total number of iterations is calculated here based on that max flow, min flow, and flow increment. All right, so what we're doing is we're going to update the steady flow. We're going to run the HEC-RAS compute. And then after that, we've already talked about this. This is calculating that date time elapsed. Oops, this should be a T here. DT elapsed display, DT elapsed display. Let me see where it was initialized. And DT elapsed display. Okay, just a typo there. And then what we're doing for the progress bar is we're getting the progress bar. I wrote a separate function right here. I'm sending it the current iteration, the total number of iterations, And this function is written right here at the bottom, get progress bar. First, I'm calculating the percentage as a floating value, a single, and then the percentage as a display. It's just going to be converted to a string, and then I append the percent symbol. And then after that, I'm going to get the bar. So what I'm doing is I'm saying there's a total of 50 bars. That's right here. So after 100% of the progress, we'll see 50 bars, which I'm printing out right here. But if it's only, say, 10% of the progress complete, then this will only loop through 5 times. Bar count will be 5, and then it will display 5 bars. So the more bars, it's just going to look like a bar that's kind of like a progress bar. You'll see what that looks like in just a moment. Finally, what we're returning from this function, I'm calling progress bar as a string. It's going to be the bars and then a couple spaces and then the percent completed, which is what we calculated up here, the percent complete and the percent symbol. So get progress bar gets returned right here, and then that gets appended right here. And that should update with each of our iterations, which is each of our flow rates. All right, so let's go ahead and see if that works. I'm going to click on Save and then click on Excel. I'm going to make this a little bit more compact so I can zoom in. And then again, this right down here is where we're looking. So the first time from 500 to 1000, we should have a total of 6 different flow rates, 6 different iterations. So 0%, 16 and 2/3%, 33 and a third percent, 50%, and so on is what I expect to see. I'm going to click on compute and then let's just see what happens. Elapsed time is 0 seconds. Okay. 4 seconds, that's the first iteration is complete, 16.7. 7 seconds is elapsed, that's a third complete. That's our second iteration. Okay, we're halfway done, that's 50%. We're now 2/3 done, it's been 15 seconds. 18 seconds, and one more iteration for the 1000 CFS flow rate, and boom, we're done. It took 22 seconds, and then finally we relinquished control of the status bar. It went back down to the default text. All right, so that's kind of a cool little feature you can add to your HEC-RAS controller applications. Let's do one more just to kind of test the limits a little bit. So instead of 500 to 1000 at 100 CFS increment, let's make it a smaller number, like 40, and then save it back to Excel, and then click on Compute. Now, at the moment, I'm not recording the actual results from the simulation. I would be doing that, but what I'm focused on in this exercise is what we're doing here is just displaying elapsed time and then a little progress bar down in the status bar, which will give us a little peace of mind if for whatever reason the program's running, but we don't know it's running. We may think it's frozen, but with this text down here in the progress bar, it'll give us confidence that indeed our program is still running and give us an idea of its overall progress. Okay, so that's it for this lesson where we talked about displaying a timer and a progress bar in the status bar.